Hello and welcome back to the show. I am very excited to welcome Katie Dodd to the podcast today. You are in for a treat. We are going to get all into blogging and how to make money from your blog, whether you want to have this be your full-time income source or whether you are wanting to maybe mix in some passive income with some of the other things that you're doing in your business. Either way, this episode is for you. Even if you're just curious to understand how to get started with blogging and what the potential could be. One of the things that Katie will share with us in this episode is her journey and just the income that she has made over the years that she has been running her blog. And she's also going to be sharing at the end about a challenge she is running. And actually, that challenge is happening next week. So she gives all the details at the end of the episode. So make sure you stick around for that. It is really going to, for anyone who is considering starting a blog or you've tried starting a blog before, and maybe are struggling a little bit with it, this is going to be your fast track to getting started or restarted with that. It's a 3-day challenge. And like I said, she'll be sharing more about that at the end. And we have that link to register for it in our show notes as well, in case you're wanting to just jump ahead and make sure you get on top of that. But today we really dive into blogging and her tips for success in building a business that is passive through your blog. And a little background about Katie. So Katie is an entrepreneur, blogger, and dietitian. She is a board-certified specialist in gerontological nutrition and a fellow of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. She spent 13 years working as a home care dietitian for the VA before diving into entrepreneurship full-time. And we'll hear a little bit more about her story in a moment. So Katie is the owner of Katie Dodd Nutrition, LLC. She is founder of the Geriatric Dietitian blog and High Calorie Recipes food blog, and the host of the Dietitian Side Hustle podcast, which is a really wonderful podcast. If you have not checked it out, definitely recommend you do. She lives in Medford, Oregon, and is mom to Gavin and Emily. All right, let's get to know Katie and hear everything she has to tell us about blogging. Welcome, Katie. Thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be on your podcast.
Yes, I have been a guest on yours, and so I'm just so excited to return the favor and have you on here and share all of your blogging expertise with our listeners here. So you are a blogging extraordinaire, and you've taught a lot of dietitians how to make money and have a business of blogging like you've done. But how did you get into this business of blogging?
Sure. So I feel like I kind of fell into the world of entrepreneurship by accident. I became a dietitian in 2008. I got a traditional job working in the VA, and I love my job. I was an entrepreneur, meaning I was like an entrepreneur in my job. I was always hustling, moving, shaking, doing the job of 10 people. And I eventually got to this point where I was maxed out in pay, maxed out in opportunities. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do next? I fell into the world of side hustles again by accident. I won't go into that whole story, but I sat next to a dietitian on a plane coming back from Quincy in Texas who was an entrepreneur, started a whole conversation, and I got started doing freelance writing. That was my first side hustle, and I loved it. I didn't think I was an entrepreneur yet, though, because I thought that to be an entrepreneur, I had to work with clients. And I'm a bit of an introvert. I loved working with clients at the VA and home care, but I had no interest in seeing clients outside of the VA. And so I thought, I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm not working with clients. I have no interest in working with clients. That's not in the cards for me. But eventually I was at a conference with 3 amazing entrepreneurial dietitians and realized, wait a minute, I am an entrepreneur. And what are the ways that I could do something on the side, make impact, make money, and not work with humans? So shortly after that,
because you had enough of that working in your day job. Yeah.
Yeah. While I recharged from all my peopling, I could make money. And so I ended up just kind of falling into the world of blogging. I found on Facebook a dietitian who was teaching information about blogging and SEO. And I'm like, this is incredible. This is amazing. I took a free masterclass. I ended up joining a program learning SEO. And that was my first time actually paying for an online program, investing in my own business development, because we know in schools taught us to be dietitians, not how to make money. And so I realized the value of finding someone who's doing what you want to do and paying them money to show you the fast track on how to do it. So from there, I started working with so many different people. I joined all these programs, business coaching, SEO memberships, programs, courses. I was just deep in it. And I was like, I love this. this is something that I could do from the comfort of my own computer at home. I could build my
Yeah.
own business, and it doesn't require me to work with people. I love blogging because it's an online platform for business. You can make money through multiple streams of income, which don't require you to work with people. You can work with people too and be a blogger, but it was just such a wonderful fit for me, something that I was able to do while working full-time, while mom of 2 kiddos, and just feel really good about making an impact and building my own business. And I'll just say really briefly too, the cool thing about building your own business is that you're working for you. When I was a freelancer, I was doing freelance writing. It was great. I loved it. But I got gigs and I was paid one and done. So,
Mhm.
it was a contract. I wrote it. I never made money again. With my blog business, it took me a while to start making money. But once I did, when I'd write for myself, I could make money month after month, year after year through the content I wrote for myself, so much more. I have these
Right.
comparisons. I often do this little blogging as a business webinar. I do it periodically, and I
Mhm.
share my income reports, all those things. And I actually share this example of how one article I got paid $150 for. It's online now, $150, one and done. Another article on
Mhm.
my website, now that I actually make money blogging, this one article has made over, I don't even know the number at this point, but probably over $6,000. One article.
Oh my
So it
gosh.
really shows, and that's not every article. That's like one of the
Yeah.
higher extremes, but it just showed if I'm going to take the time to write, my gosh, it just makes sense to write for myself. Now, we're going to be talking more
Yeah.
about blogging, so I'm not just talking pie in the sky
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm going to do that. And I would love you guys to, but it does take time and attention. But that's the big
Right.
picture of why I love blogging as a business. It's my own business. I can make impact from the comfort of my own home without working with people. And yeah, that's kind of a longer story than I meant to tell, but that's how I got into blogging.
No, it's always I think it's so great to hear your story, to hear everyone's story about how they found their own way into entrepreneurship. And as dietitians and health professionals, like you said, we go to school, we get the schooling on the science to make sure that we can become experts and handle people's health and all of that. But we don't necessarily hear about all these different options out there. And I think that is one of the crucial things that holds people back is not understanding those possibilities for ourselves as entrepreneurs or even finding jobs within the profession too. I still remember in
Yeah.
undergrad, it was like, go to WIC, go to food service, or go to the hospital. Those were your 3 options and, get a job and all of that. And I worked for many years myself, and I think there were a lot of skills that I picked up that I was able to translate into running a business for myself and all of that. But your point is so valid about, are you working on someone else's business? Because when you're an employee or when you are doing these gig jobs, which are still great ways to make money, but you're still building someone else's business. And it can be both monetarily fulfilling and also just energetically, mentally fulfilling to be building something that you own wholly as your own business. But it takes
Yes.
time to do that. Right?
Absolutely. There's this quote that I really love. I don't even know who said it or where it came from, but it says you could either spend your time and talent building your dreams or someone else's. And when
Oh,
I heard that, that really resonated with me. I'm like, yeah, I want to spend my time and talents building my dreams.
I love that. Yeah. Well, and I know that there are many folks out there who have a dream of building a business with blogging and getting into it. We definitely hear the success stories out there of people that are just killing it. And so let's just dive into that a little bit more. Like, first explain, like, how does a blog actually make money anyway?
Great question. Because that when I first discovered the world of blogging, I was like, wait, a blog makes money? I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think it was possible. So I'm just going to kind of break down a quick concept of how we make money, and then I'll kind of dive into how a blog makes money.
Mhm.
So if I was to oversimplify how we make money, we need 2 things. We need something to sell and someone to sell it to. You could have a big audience, but nothing to sell. You're not going to make money. You can create amazing products to sell, but if you don't have an audience, you're not going to make money. So to make money through business, you need something to sell and someone to sell it to. This is why I love blogging, because it's this beautiful blend of the two. So with a blog, there's a lot of things we have to do. We can kind of dive into some of the nitty gritty, but you have to be so clear in who you are focusing on online. Who is your niche? Who's your ideal client? Who are you speaking to? You have to make sure you build your website on the right platform. You have to learn a strategy called SEO, search engine
Mhm.
optimization, and this is a non-negotiable to bring people to your website. So you create this blog and you work on building traffic. You get people who come to your blog, and because you have all these people coming to your blog, they have problems, they're looking for solutions. You start talking to your audience, you start doing your research, figuring out what can you create to solve their problems, and you create paid products. And then you have something to sell them. So blogging drives traffic and gives you a platform to sell and help solve people's problems. So what you sell on your website, golly, there is like, sky's the limit. You can sell anything. But the ways that I make money through my primary blog, The Geriatric Dietitian, is 5 main income streams. The big money maker is ad revenue. So I have ads on my website through a company called Mediavine. That's a high-end ad network. And when people come to my website, they don't even have to click on the ads. They just put eyeballs on it, and I make money through the blog. I also sell digital goods. So I have handouts, worksheets, resources that people can purchase at a nice low price. It's completely passive income because someone buys a handout, I've already made it. There's systems in place to send it to them. And so it's not like I have to create a handout, provide it to them. I'm not what we call trading time for money. It's all passive income. I also have a course that I sell on my website. So those are some videos and some downloads that I created one time and I continue to sell. I also sell ebooks. And more recently, I started selling books through Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing so people could actually get a physical copy too, not just digital. And then also affiliates through my website, Amazon affiliates. So I make money, like if I recommend a product, I'm talking about maybe like something with protein powder. Oh, a blender.
Okay.
I do have links for blenders on my website. So
figured maybe you did.
So if you click on the link, then, I can make a commission. So those are the 5 main income streams I have: ad revenue, digital goods, ebooks, courses, and Amazon affiliates. And these are all passive income sources. So again, these things are created one and done. The blog articles driving traffic, and there's systems set up in place, and the blog is just on the back end making money day after day, week after week, month after month. And it's this beautiful thing. Now, I can make money through other streams if I'm into it. If I wanted to see clients, if I wanted to have a group program, there's so many other things that I could do. It's just with the geriatric dietitian, that's kind of that's my jam. That's what I've been doing for now. So that is, I guess, is how a blog makes money, is that, and actually, let me back up. I keep saying blog and website interchangeably. So a website has a blog page on it. So some people have a website that's just a landing page. And, Whitney is the website expert, but it could just be like a landing page. Like maybe you market through social media and you're like, here's my services. It's like a very plain web page. A blog is a page on your blog, which has articles that you put out on a regular basis. And the goal is to get people to come through these blogs when they're searching things on search engines. So bloggers, we talk about Google. Google is like the number one search engine. 90% of people use Google. A lot of people go on the internet through search engines. And the number 2 search engine is YouTube, which is also owned by Google. So again, we talk about Google. And so when people go to Google, they ask questions like, best restaurant to eat at, something to do with my old bananas. And when they look it up, it pulls up a list of different options. You click on the one that, looks like, oh, that's what I'm looking for. And what you're actually going to is a blog article most of the time. Sometimes you're going to a web page, but most of the time it's a blog article. So this was a long answer.
I know. No, we need the foundations.
Started teaching some concepts, but essentially that's how a blog makes money, is that it makes money by driving traffic through Google and other ways. Like a lot of people use Pinterest too, but you're driving traffic to the website. It's a platform that provides lots of high level value for free, but then you have paid options for the right people. And it's a way to make money through multiple streams of income, passive and or active, which is where you're trading time for money, maybe work with clients, group programs, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So the blog is just a section of a website. So as business owners, if anyone listening to this podcast knows that I talk about websites quite a bit, and I definitely focus on a lot of the businesses who are looking to sell services from their websites or group programs or consulting and all of that. But blogging is definitely another area where you can tack that onto your website. I mean, I think every business should have a blog on their website, but then the focus, if your goal is for your website to be selling services, then your blog posts are going to maybe be talking a little bit more to customers that are in the market for buying your services and the pain points there. Whereas if you are wanting to really start generating ad income or do affiliate links and all of that, your strategy for that blog content might be a little bit different, and how you spend your time. You're going to be putting out a lot more blogs. Because we know, you you alluded to that it takes time, and I do want to
Yes.
get on that next, like what comes first and all of that. But it takes time to generate the traffic coming in to have these more passive income streams. So for many business owners, they start that website, build it on the right platform, which is WordPress,
Yep.
and make sure that they have the other pieces in place so that when people land on the site, they convert into leads and clients. And you can listen to some of my past episodes talking about that strategy that goes into your website, but then also having a blog on your site. And if a goal of yours is to be selling more passive income, then you can start building up blog posts and learning more about SEO while you're also generating income from these other more active streams. And then as time goes on, kind of start moving away maybe from your one-to-one work or anything that doesn't light you up, and say, hey, I'm making enough income from these other things. So you mentioned that, it takes time for these things. And you mentioned that also the ad revenue is your highest income source. But I'm guessing that that hasn't always been the case, that has had to build over time. But like, what are the 3 steps for people to get started and start blogging as a business and making some of this money that you're talking about?
Yes. Great question. So I like to break it down in just kind of like these 3 steps: discover, develop, do it. And I'll break that down what I mean. So the very first step is discover what you want to do. I think the first thing is learning what's possible. And so you're discovering, like, maybe right now you're like, oh my gosh, I can make money blogging. Sign me up. I love to write. I don't want to work with people. Or even if you do, that's fine. But discovering what's possible, but then also discovering your niche, because we do have to be clear. We have to be clear in who we are serving online. It's not going to fly by just saying, I'm just going to create a blog about nutrition.
Mm-hmm. It's the same as building your business. Like, I mean, we're talking about blogging as a business. So just like deciding which services, your niche and all of that, it's the same thing. Okay.
Yep. So step 1, discover. What do you want to do? What's possible? Uncover your niche. Step number 2 is you need to develop the skills to build a blog business. Learn how to do it. So you need to learn how to build the blog on WordPress.org, not to be confused with .com. I don't know about your audience, but the darn WordPress.com always gets in the way.
Yeah.
But learning how to build your website on the right platform, and then learning how to grow and build traffic. So the SEO that we talked about, and then also learning how to be the CEO of your business, because there's lots of things going on here. If you don't build your website on the right platform, it's not going to be successful. If you don't learn SEO, no one's going to find your stuff. And if you don't learn how to think and act like a business owner, you're not going to have the strategy and do the things that you need to do. So step number 2, develop, learn how to do it, how to build the blog, how to grow the blog, and how to be a CEO. Then step number 3 is doing it. And that sounds so simple, but what I mean by do it is overcome what makes you stuck. And so many dietitians and humans in general, we struggle with perfectionism. We get caught in the weeds. We feel like, I have to know all the answers. I have to do all the things. I have to get everything right. My website has to be perfect. Everything has to be all lined up before I do the thing. But then what happens is you never do the thing because it's never good enough. And so I love talking about taking imperfect action. And so really taking the time to figure out, like, okay, here's what I want to do. I'm developing the skills to do it. Now I need to uncover what keeps me stuck so I can actually show up and do the work that I want to do, taking imperfect action, understanding that done is better than perfect. The more you do the thing, the better you will get. So I know that was very high level, but I would say those are the 3 steps to start: discover, develop, and do it.
Yeah. I mean, that makes so much sense. I know I definitely, when I was starting my business way back when, I was just very stuck in that analysis paralysis. I remember actually, I was terrified to reach out and start telling people that I was building a business. And for me, I ended up having to hire a coach because I just could not get over the fear of actually executing and implementing. And so I think for all of us, we just need to get to that root. If we're not taking the action after we've done some of these things, finding out, well, is it because I'm unclear on something? Is it because I lack the confidence about it? Or is there some other deeper fear? What if I fail? What if I succeed?
I know.
Both sides of the coin can keep us from doing things. And so uncovering those things, because I have conversations with folks too as they're thinking about working with me on their websites and where they're at with their business and saying, I haven't done this. I'm not sure about this. And it's like, okay, well then how can you get clear on that? Because that is a question then that you can just go and find the answer to. And if it is, okay, what niche is the right niche? Or, learning more about SEO. We'll wrap up at the end about some places that people can go to find this and get answers and get help from you, because it is about getting some of this clarity and then finding the people to support you. Like you mentioned, when you were starting your business, you started investing in yourself, which I think is really important to do.
Yeah. And I will tell you, had I not taken courses, I would have done everything wrong. I would have built my website. It'd be like thegeriatricdietitian.squarespace.com. I mean, I would have done everything wrong. And so it fast tracked me. And one thing I kind of wanted to go back on, because you kind of asked me like, kind of where do you start? And I know I kind of gave those high level points, but I also want to mention that when you first start a blog, and I keep talking about Google, it can take anywhere from 6 to 9 months before Google, which is the main search engine, to even pick up your blog. So blogging is a long-term game. This isn't something where you're just going to publish a blog and making all this passive income. It takes time and intention. It took my website 9 months before Google started picking it up, but then it started picking it up. And
that's great.
And just that big picture of, I know how you mentioned like the passive income versus the active income. And in the beginning, maybe you're doing more one-on-one client work, but then shifting into more of that passive income. And that's exactly what the blog has done for me. And that's why I love it, because in the beginning, you're not going to be making a ton of money. I actually just pulled up my slides because I like talking about the money. I have some income reports just for passive income on my blog. So I'm not talking where I did like webinars or other freelance writing or other active income sources in my business, but just passive income through the blog. Looking at the first 3 years, the first 6 months after publishing my blog, I made $59. $59 through selling digital goods. I was thrilled because it was passive income. I'm like, I made it once and people are buying it. I'm not doing anything. But that's not a lot of money. That's not going to succeed long term. The next
for 6 months, right? For 6 months of work. Granted, you weren't spending, 8 hours a day, but still, it's 6 hours and it's $59, but it does show you're making progress. But that's that like passive income kind of myth of that it's passive. It's like, well, it took a lot of work up front to then get it working. So, okay, the next 6 months.
Yes, because if it was free, everyone would do it, right? Okay, so that's the first 6 months. And I will tell you guys, I spent about 5 to 7 hours a week on my blog, just if you're wondering, how long does this take? So the next 6 month chunk, as I'm building more traffic, because the number one goal in the beginning, clarity in your niche, build your blog, grow traffic. Then we start adding those income streams. So the next 6 months, I'm growing traffic, and I added a new income stream. I created an ebook because my audience was asking for it. And the next 6 month chunk, I made $744. So that was by selling digital goods and ebooks. So that's a big jump, 59 to 744.
Yep.
Still not a ton of money for 6 months, right?
Yeah.
The next 6 month chunk, more traffic, more paid products. I made $2,044.
Wow.
Even better.
Yeah.
Next 6 month chunk. So now we are into, our
year and a half.
Yeah, year and a half mark.
Yeah.
This is the point when I qualified for ad revenue. A lot more traffic, a lot more income streams. And this 6 month chunk, I made $15,000 in completely passive income. And then I'll just go faster. The next 6 month chunk was $23,000. The next 6 month chunk was $24,000. And to break that down in a period of 3 years, the first year of my blog, I made $833. The next year I made $17,000. The third year I made $50,000. Passive income. And so when I say it's a long-term game, I mean, it's a long-term game, but it's worth it. I know 3 years, like, well, that sounds like so long, but it really wasn't. I mean, we're spending our time and attention doing other things. And now I have this blog that makes thousands of dollars of passive income every month, and I don't do anything. At this point, I've hired other people to work on the blog for me. And so, so
I was going to say, probably your margin is pretty good on that money too, versus, if you're selling your time for services and whatever, like you are trading your time, whereas you're not putting in as much time into the blog. And you pay for hosting fees and a few other things, but, and maybe the people to help you behind the scenes, but it's definitely not the same amount of overhead and costs as running like a service-based business or anything like that.
Yes. I love online business because it's so affordable with the overhead. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'd actually pulled apart. So like when I look at the 3 year mark for my blog, when I made $50,000, some dietitians who live in the Midwest, that's their starting pay. That's like a whole year. And I just did this math of like, what's the average dietitian salary, which is according to the Comp and Benefit Survey. There's a new one, I think. I haven't looked at it, but according to the last one, it's $33.65 an hour. So if I was trading time for money, it would have taken me To make $50,000 in 12 months, it would have taken me 1,507 hours, roughly 125 hours a month, or 31 hours per week to
Okay.
make the same amount of money that I was
Yeah.
making passively through the blog. And again, I was spending
Yeah.
5 to 7 hours in the beginning. At the time point where I made that 50,000, I was spending maybe 5 to 7 hours a month. And then
Oh
I
my
hired a
gosh.
blog manager, and now I'm like hands off
Yep.
pretty much. So,
That's amazing. I love
so
it. And I think your trajectory really speaks to this point that I want to make sure everyone hears is that this takes time. And if you want this to be a future option for you, there's also this need to have money coming in some other ways while you're building and have this almost dual track that you're on, that you are making money either from a business or like from a job and working for someone else, so this is your side hustle, but knowing that, okay, we need to be kind of building up over time, or you are saying, okay, my business is going to have two sides to it. I'm going to be actively working for income for the
mhm,
first year, two, however long. And this other side is going to be building. I'm sowing the seeds for future revenue. And I think it's
yeah,
so interesting how you mentioned too that it's not just the ad revenue that is
yeah,
bringing in these dollars. It might, as time has gone on, that has contributed a lot, but there's other products. And I have to say that part of and you probably agree with this, part of the expertise that you bake into these products that you sell comes from serving clients, having services, working in some other capacity. So it's not like come out of school and, okay, I want to start blogging as a business and I just want to make money from the blog. The experience that you're getting from the different things that you're doing, those are great things that are going to allow you to make really great products that are going to
yes.
bring in money as well. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one other thing I'll share too is that like having the blog and having a website, it gives you expertise and authority, like massive authority, because when people are Googling something and it brings up your website, it shows you as the expert. I often tell people I'm not the only geriatric dietitian. I'm probably not the best geriatric dietitian, though I'm pretty good. But when you Google things related to my niche, it pulls up my website and it shows me as the geriatric dietitian. And opportunities come to me. And I was just talking passive income. I'll give you an example of this year. I had a company reach out to me this year, earlier in the year, saying, "Hey, Katie, we'd love for you to do a talk for our organization." I was like, "Awesome. What's your rate?" And they said, "Well, what's your rate?" And I said, with confidence, $5,000 for a 1 hour webinar. And they said, "Okay." And I said, "Oh, okay." And so
that's
just that big,
amazing.
yeah. So just big picture is, again, a blog business is an online platform to make money through multiple streams of business. It could start with one thing, but then it opens up the doors where you have people reaching out to you because they see you as this person of authority, which you are, but they see you as a person of authority. And it just opens up the doors for opportunities that, yes, you can go out and get them. I often think maybe I should approach brands more often, but it's so nice that like they reach out to me. For
Yeah.
the last 2.5, well, 2 years, I say half. This next year I'm doing it again. I've been a reviewer for US News's diet review. I forget the exact name, but it's like this
Mhm.
big diet review. It's like a big deal. And they reached out to me because they
That's
found my blog
amazing.
and saw me as this
Yep.
geriatric expert. So I just want to throw that out there too. It's like, yes, it takes time, but everything takes time. But what you're doing is you're creating something that's it's like sowing seeds and you're planting and you're like growing this beautiful forest and garden and
Right.
all these things. And then it just opens up so many doors and opportunities. And I know I'm probably totally going off our questions, but
Yep.
it's led to this lifestyle for me where I've been able to leave my full-time job, be more present
Mhm.
with my kids. Right now, summer, my kids are back in the other room, and I get to
Mhm.
be present with my kids, and it's just the doors that have opened for me has been incredible. So,
Mhm. Yeah, it allows you to pursue the opportunities that you want. And again, you're building this platform for yourself. And I think one of the things you hit on is so critical is realizing that having a website that is out there and it's searchable and people can find it and it's optimized so that it's speaking to clients and it's
yes.
explaining your expertise and all of that, it is allowing strangers to find you and work with you and want to hire you or want to buy from you. And that's what a scalable business is all about.
Yes.
Because if we're only relying, it's great when we get referrals. It's great when we use our network and we know people and, all of that. But when we have people coming out of the blue, finding our business through Google, whether it's a business that wants to hire us for some kind of gig or it's someone wanting to buy your product, that's when it really does become a business that can scale. It can, or just be the size that it wants to be. But I look at scale as just being something that you can continue to make more money without you having to put in the same amount of time to make that money. That you can have a higher ceiling on your earning potential without having to always be trading all of your time to get all of these things. But
Yes.
it requires systems, it requires that strategy and learning these things the same way people go to school to become a personal trainer, to become a dietitian, to become a dentist.
Mm-hmm.
You need to learn some of these things. There is, and many of these things, a right way and a wrong way to do things. And then you can
Yes.
kind of riff on it. We all know how that goes. But there are some foundational things. And when you can learn from folks and then get the support, and I think that's a big thing that you offer to people that work with you too, is
Yeah.
really coaching them along the same
Yes.
way in our program. Like, we are your cheerleader, because making these decisions for your business and putting yourself out there, it's tough. You know,
Yes.
it's not just about learning how to do it. It's then going and taking the action every single day, even when you doubt yourself, even when you're not seeing all the results that you necessarily want right away. It takes that effort. And so getting people that support you and understand where you're trying to go and have been in your shoes, I think is so critical.
100%. I think of how much I've invested in my, professional education, and I still work with business coach. I
Yep.
get so much value from it. And I mean, as long as I'm doing this game, which I'm planning to do for, as long as I want to do, I will be working with a coach, because I understand how important it is. Because
Yep.
so much of it is, it's mindset, it's strategy, it's, this stuff works, but we have to make sure that we have the tools to help us do it best.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And we're always learning. It's not, you're not saying like, well, yeah, I figured out the Google algorithm and I figured out online business. And so now I'm just going to sit back and, let my website go. And there's definitely people who just let their website kind of flow after a while, after they hit a certain level. But then things change. And if you want to just be keeping relevant, it's good to continue learning. And I kind of joked to myself, I thought, yeah, a couple of years ago, I would just figure stuff out and then like I could coast into the sunset, and then realize that is not how business goes. That's okay. We're all in this together. We're all going through it. It's a constant learning process, but I think with each new challenge, we also get new successes and new rewards and feelings of fulfillment too. So it's worth it. It's just, it's definitely a journey.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So speaking of journey and the different things that we encounter, what is the biggest challenge people face when it comes to blogging as a business?
I think high level, I'm going to say mindset is, and it can sound cheesy, but I do think that mindset is a big piece. But I think right now, what I would say is the biggest challenge is that people don't learn the right way to do it. And I know we keep talking about this. So sometimes someone will see, like, they're hearing us talk about blogging. They're like, holy cow, I want to do that. I'm going to go do it right now. So they will sit down and they will figure out, okay, here's what I'm going to call my blog. Okay, let me Google. I'm going to build this on Wix. Okay, that sounds good. I'm going to write a list of all the topics I want to write about, because I know that my audience wants to hear about all these things. So I'm going to write these, this list of things I want to write about. We get the website live. We start writing about what we want to talk about. We don't learn SEO. And we spend all this time in this intention, and people are working so hard. It's not that they're not working hard. They're just not doing the right things. And so they're going down the wrong path. They're spending time and intention, and they're trying so hard. They feel like they're banging their head against the wall, and they finally give up and they say, blogging doesn't work. I tried it and it doesn't work. It does work. It's just, we have to make sure we find the right way to do it. We need to find people who are doing what we want to do successfully, and then learn from them and figure out what is the right way to do it. So I think the biggest challenge is just not learning those fundamental things that you need to do. Like we keep saying, WordPress is the right place to build your website, but then also learning SEO. If you don't take time to learn SEO, honestly, I don't recommend that you blog, because you're going to be creating this amazing content that no one will see. And so there's a whole strategy to it. I mean, I have programs where I teach this stuff, because it is that, it's complex, but it's also figure outable. It's not like, rocket science. It's just, it's like anything, right? We just have to learn how to do it over and over again. And then we have success. So once we figure that piece out, I'm still going to throw in mindset, because that shows up at every step of the way. Because if we get in our own way with mindset of like, I don't need help, I'm going to figure it out myself. Or if we get in our heads of like, oh, I suck, this is never going to work. Or if we get in our heads and we procrastinate and we never publish on the blog, or we get stuck in perfectionism. I will say, for me, when I look at my own journey, It's
Mhm.
never been about working harder. It's never been about grinding the midnight oil. It's really
Right.
been about working on my mindset. The more I
Yeah.
work on my mindset, the more I focus
Yep.
my time and attention on things that matter. So,
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, God, it's just so true. I remember my first lead magnet. So talking about like all the little things that you're going to have to go through
mhm,
with your business and all the little decisions that are going to happen, whether it's building a website for your business or going through and learning about SEO and deciding on this blogging business. You're going to have little things where you're going to have to make a decision about, okay, this is the product that I'm going to create. And this is the platform that I'm going to build that product on. And this is how long it's going to be. And this is how much I'm going to sell it for. And oh, I need some testimonials. I need to go ask clients for testimonials. I remember when I was building my first lead magnet, I was so in my own head about what to include. I wanted it to be perfect. I like what to call it. I didn't want to ask anyone for any input. And I spent so long just kind of hemming and hawing. And that's happened throughout my business. So I created a quiz once and I cannot tell you how many hours I spent hemming and hawing over building that quiz, like as another like lead generating thing. And just it happens. These things are going to happen. And don't think that it's all going to just be smooth sailing once you make this one decision. Everything's going to all work out. We're more sharing this to, though, say that we all go through it
oh, yes.
and just be ready for it. And these are decisions that you're going to have to keep making in order to have, like you said, thinking like a CEO and making good
Yeah.
business decisions for your business to keep moving forward and saying, okay, this is where I'm going to invest next. This is the direction I'm going to go. Okay, what paid product am I going to offer? And how am I going to offer that to people and whatnot?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay. So we've talked a lot about like you need to learn the right things.
Mhm.
And, if you do it wrong, you might be pouring your heart and soul into this block, into this void that unfortunately no one is finding or necessarily getting like what they were looking for out of. So we don't want that. We want you have a lot to say, you have value. There's a framework that you can learn that will still allow you to have that creative freedom and put your expertise and your heart into the blog, whatever you choose to write about and who you choose to reach. But there are some ways to go about it correctly. So, what is the next step for someone if they are ready to get started or they want to kind of figure out, like, what are those things that I'm supposed to be doing?
Sure. So I know I kind of mentioned this earlier when I was kind of talking about those 3 steps to start, but I think the 2 big next steps is figuring out how to build a website. Because again, you want to build your website on WordPress. There's a lot of things that do matter when it comes to building a website. And honestly, building a website can be really, really hard. Like
Hmm.
I keep saying this, we went to school to become dietitians. We are not tech people, but everything is figure outable. I help people build blogs, but some people are like, this is too much, Katie. I send them to Whitney. She's a pro. And so there's all kinds of help out there, but I will say things
Yeah.
are figure outable. So
Hmm.
building your website on the right platform, which is wordpress.org, and then learning SEO. And I just want to kind of share, because I know I keep talking about this concept and coming back to when I said a lot of people will sit down and create a list of what they want to write about for the blog. And you might be hearing like, why is that wrong? And
Yeah.
why that is wrong is because, and I'm just going to share this, and I think I could break it down quickly in a way that makes sense. So when we search something on Google, we call those keywords. Keywords are the things that people are actually typing into Google. There
Hmm.
are keyword research tools, paid tools, expensive, affordable. There's different tools we could use to actually figure out what are people searching in Google. These tools will tell us how many people are searching this every month, and then it will give us a score that will tell us how likely is it for our brand new baby blog to rank on the first page of Google. So some keywords are hard to Google, like to rank for. So let's think about my blog, The Geriatric Dietitian, and I'm making these up. But I would
Hmm.
never focus just on the keyword diabetes. If you Google diabetes, it's going to pull up all the heavy hitting websites, the American Diabetes Association, probably CDC, all these big heavy hitters that as a baby blogger, I can't compete with that. I can't. But if I use these tools and I find something specific to my link, hemoglobin A1C levels in older adults, that's what we call a long tail keyword. That's
Hmm.
something that, and I have something close to that on my website, actually. I just got a comment on it today. And people actually search for it. It's related to my niche. I write for that. I do rank on the first page of Google for it. So we
Mm.
use these keyword research tools to actually do a deep dive into the research to find out what is our audience searching and how hard would it be to write for? So in the beginning of the blog, there's going to be some articles you're writing about that you never even thought about. Or maybe you're like, oh, this isn't entirely what I want to write about, but it fits. Because the goal is we want Google to find us. We want Google to actually see us, start ranking us. Then their strategy, the longer your website is live, the more SEO stuff you do, kind of high level. Like we get other websites to link back to us. There's all these things you do that your website starts growing and you're no longer a baby blog. You're like becoming a heavy hitter yourself. Then you can start competing for more difficult keywords. But if you just go straight to the keywords that are too difficult, too hard to rank for, you're never going to rank. So that's why I say we don't write down the things we want to write about. We learn SEO. We do our keyword research. We find the topics that we could rank about. We start writing the articles. We start paying attention to our data, finding out what is Google ranking us for? What does Google think that we're the expert for? Then we use our data. We start putting out more of the content they rank us for. If Google's not ranking us, we stop writing for those topics unless it's relevant to our audience. I mean, there's still a balance of like, sometimes I put out content even if it's not really for the goal of ranking. It's because people need to hear this.
Right.
But that's not most of my strategy. Most of my strategy is figuring out what's going to bring in traffic. And then over time, like I said, you can start ranking for more keywords. You focus, you use your own data to create more content to drive traffic to your website. So I feel like I've talked so much, I forgot the original question, and I hope I answered it.
Well, I think you did, because I agree that I think that challenge for folks is that they set out to create the blog and they just make the list of topics that they want to write about and think that is how you get started. And when thinking about your niche and thinking about the topics that you enjoy, I mean, that's good to still have that, because to type into these tools, you need to type something to get started. So you want to be, okay, is it this topic that they're searching for, or is it actually something that's a little tangential that maybe I wasn't thinking about? Because also, when we're so close to these topics and we know so much about it, it can be really tough to put our minds in the shoes of our customers, because they may be using different words. And this kind of goes back to your website copy in general. I talk to folks about, we want to use the words that our customers are using to describe their problems. And it's not always the words that we would use. And so we find out those words for the copy on our website by looking at what our customers put into a lead capture form, maybe, what they said their challenges were, and looking at those terms, or what they're telling us their challenges are, or doing a little interview with a former client and asking them a little bit more and getting those words. And so that's how you can do it for your website copy. But then for your blogs, you can use these other tools where it's very much the same thing. You're asking it to kind of poll, okay, what are the things that people are typing into Google? And let me use those words so that people are continuing to type those words into Google and your content is showing up for it. And I think, and then it goes beyond that, which obviously we don't have time to go into all of the strategy, but then also making sure that content that you write is in the right format for Google, because also, I think there's that mentality or mistake of like, okay, because, back in the day, blogging it was like a web log, it was a log of like your thoughts and your feelings, and it was just a narrative. It was like a nice, moseying, article, and it didn't have structure. It didn't have like a point necessarily all the time. It was just whatever was going. A lot of people have personal blogs. That is not what this is. This is informational. This is giving people something. And so after you get that strategy, then you're also looking at like you mentioned, it's all these other advanced SEO topics once you start getting traffic in. And it is making sure that the content, the way you're writing it, how long it is, how many links you have in it, all those kinds of things. But it's all teachable. It's all figure outable. And then the faster that you know that recipe of what to follow so you can be successful, the faster you can start seeing results and actually focus on using your brain to put the knowledge out there. I know so many dietitians and just wellness professionals who they have these jobs, they feel stifled that they can't kind of put their passion to work. They can't educate people. Maybe they're working in the hospital and it's like, oh, how many times do I have to talk about the cardiac diet? Like I want to actually share what I went to school for, what I'm passionate about. And you can definitely do that. You just need to have some structure to it. And this can actually make it easier for you to start getting those creative juices flowing, because it's going to give you that structure of how to go about doing it correctly.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Katie, you are a wealth of information. I know we just scratched the surface of some things, but I think you have a challenge coming up that can help folks with some of this. So can you share a little bit more about that?
Yes. So I have a challenge. It's like coming up perfect timing. So for those of you who are
Yeah.
listening to this podcast episode relatively live, I have a challenge. It's called the 3-day Blog Biz Challenge, and it's running September 3rd through the 5th. Now, this is a challenge that I created for really any person. You could have a blog, you could not have a blog, you could have an idea about what you want to blog or you'd have no idea. You're like, I don't even know what I want to blog about, but this sounds cool. So this 3-day challenge is designed to help you jumpstart or restart your blog business. So what to expect, motivation, inspirational, but then also tangible tools, action taking, massive momentum. I'll kind of share what we're doing over 3 days together. And we actually did this challenge back in earlier in this year, and it was so much fun, so much momentum, so many amazing dietitians in the group. Day 1, we dive all into mindset. It's called the mindset to start because I kind of mentioned that that's important. If we don't overcome those things that are going to get you stuck, okay, you came up with a plan, but what good is it if you can't overcome those things that get in the way? Day 2, we establish your blog brand. You get clarity in what you want to do for the blog. You figure out like, who do you want to serve? What are you going to call your brand? Getting clear and concise in what your blog business is going to be. And then in day 3, you create your money plan. So it's a very short plan, but in day 3, we're going to figure out, okay, how can you make money now through the blog and money later, that passive income, and then create the action steps to make your blog business a reality. So mindset to start, building your blog brand, creating a money plan, all in 3 days. Now, I will say this challenge is a paid challenge. It is not free, but it is super affordable. It is the lowest price thing that I do. Admission to the blog challenge is $3. $3.
Sounds reasonable. Sounds good.
$1 a day.
$1 a day.
and I'll tell you why I do that. I do that because when we pay attention. When we have free events, and I do this too, I sign up for things, good intentions. I'm going to do it. I'm too busy. But if you're like, oh, shoot, I signed up for this challenge. I paid for the challenge. I'm going to show up. If I can get you to show up, I get you to do the work, then you're going to have success. And that's what I want so badly. I don't just want this challenge to be, oh, here's some more information. I want it to be you taking action and taking the steps to change your life. And I know that's a big statement, but that's what I'm here for. So I do also have a VIP admission for a whopping $30. So for $10 a day, and what VIP looks like is you get 3 days of the training, of course, but then you also get lifetime access to the recordings, and then you get access to Q&As. So each day is about a 30-minute training, and then I cut it off. VIP people get to pick my brain, all those things, and so they get that for VIP. So that's $30 a day. And Whitney does have a link, an affiliate link that we will share with you guys. And so you can go to her affiliate link and sign up for the 3-day blog business challenge. It's going to be, I think, even as we've been having this conversation, I keep coming back to the challenge. I'm like, I'm so glad that we're airing this before the challenge, because for anyone who's listening who thinks, yes, I want to build a blog business, this sounds amazing. Come to the challenge, make a plan, figure out, okay, yeah, this is for me. I want to do it. And it's not just pie in the sky. You're actually getting ideas out of your head on paper, making a plan, picking my brain, all the things, and we can jumpstart your blog business.
Oh, it sounds amazing. Yeah, I definitely, anyone who's even thinking about this, feeling like this could be something that they want to launch right now or in the future, I think it's a great opportunity to learn from you as just one of the experts out there who's helped so many people with their blogging businesses. And yeah, $3 or $30, either way, it's a great value to really, obviously you're learning, but I love that you are helping people take tangible action, and they're at the end of this going to have a plan that they can use to move forward, because I think that is obviously for all of us, we are so busy. And so, sitting on a webinar and not having anything to show for it except, more confusion and like, oh, I have to do all these things. It's like, no, people, you can take action and have those action plans after.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, Katie, thank you so much for sharing all of your expertise and taking the time today. This was a wonderful conversation, and I can't wait to have some people join your challenge too and get all that value from you as well.
Yeah, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for having me. If anyone wants to find me online, they can find me on Instagram at the Katie Dodd. And also I have a Facebook group called the Dietitian Side Hustle. Whitney's in the group. She posts in there sometimes. So come see us in the group.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katie.
Thanks.
So what do you guys think? Are you a blogger? Do you want to become a blogger? Katie shared so many great ideas and things to consider and how to get started and mistakes to avoid and just a lot of like inspiration. I think that's what I'm kind of walking away with in today's episode. So I hope you really enjoyed learning more about blogging from Katie and the very different ways that you can go about making income from your blog. It's not just one way to make money. There are lots of different ways, as Katie shared. So if you are interested in Katie's blog challenge, like we shared and like she talked about, the 3-day blog challenge coming up, it is very low cost challenge. And you can sign up for $3 or you can get the VIP experience for $30, which is a great deal to really get some action and learn from Katie herself. You can go to the link that is in the show notes. And that's my affiliate link. So I will make a commission if you purchase from that. But I really just love what Katie does. I definitely make sure that I promote people and products who I believe in. And Katie is one of the greats when it comes to just helping support dietitians and wellness entrepreneurs who are looking to really grow a business online through their blog. She's a great person to learn from. So I hope you really enjoyed the episode and I hope you join her in her challenge next week. And I will see you on a future podcast episode. Thanks for listening.